Hello, everyone. Today we're going to explore one of the most counterintuitive ideas in economics, the Jevons Paradox. You know that feeling when you buy a more fuel-efficient car, thinking you'll save money on gas, but then you end up driving way more than before? That's not just a personal quirk, it's an economic law with a name and a 160-year history. We're going to look at why efficiency doesn't always mean less consumption, and what that means for everything from LED light bulbs to artificial intelligence. Grab a coffee and let's dive in. Here's our roadmap for the next few minutes. We'll start by defining the Jevons Paradox, what it is and what it isn't. Then we'll walk through the logic chain that makes it tick step by step. After that, we'll travel back to 1865 to meet William Stanley Jevons himself in coal-fired Victorian England. From there, we'll look at 3 real-world examples that are probably happening around you right now: LED lights, cars, and homes. Then we'll tackle the rebound effect, and finally bring everything home with the most urgent modern case, AI. Let's start with a question that feels like it should have an obvious answer. When we invent a more efficient car engine, or a brighter light bulb, or a smarter computer chip, we naturally assume we'll use less fuel, less electricity, less energy overall. It seems like common sense. More efficiency equals less waste. But what if the opposite is true? What if efficiency actually invites more consumption? That unsettling possibility is the Jevons Paradox, and once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere. Here's the formal definition. The Jevons Paradox states that technological improvements making a resource more efficient often lead to a rise in total consumption, not a fall. The mechanism is deceptively simple. Greater efficiency means you need less resource per application, which lowers the effective cost. And when something gets cheaper, people tend to use more of it. If the demand is elastic enough, meaning people are price sensitive, total consumption can actually increase, sometimes wiping out all the efficiency savings and then some. This isn't fringe theory. It has been documented across energy, transportation, agriculture, and now digital technology. So how does this actually happen? Let's trace the chain reaction, because understanding this sequence is the key to the whole idea. Step 1. Someone invents a more efficient engine, a brighter LED, or a smarter AI model. Genuine technological progress. Step 2. The effective price of using that resource drops. You get more work done per unit of energy, so each task becomes cheaper. Step 3. Because it's cheaper, people and businesses start using more of it. They find new applications, scale up, and stop worrying about conservation. Step 4. Total consumption rises. The very efficiency gain that was supposed to save resources ends up driving more demand. It's a beautiful but deeply troubling feedback loop that we keep falling into. This idea wasn't born in Silicon Valley or at a climate conference. It goes all the way back to Victorian England. In 1865, a young economist named William Stanley Jevons published a book called The Coal Question. Britain was the industrial powerhouse of the world, and everyone was terrified of running out of coal. Then James Watt's improved steam engine arrived, far more efficient than earlier designs. Everyone assumed coal consumption would drop. But Jevons looked at the data and saw the exact opposite. More efficient engines made coal power cheaper and more accessible, which triggered an explosion in steam-powered industry. Coal consumption skyrocketed. Jevons concluded, controversially, that efficiency improvements alone could never reduce resource consumption, and 160 years later, we're still wrestling with his uncomfortable insight. Now, let's move from 19th century theory to 21st century reality. The Jevons Paradox isn't just a Victorian curiosity gathering dust in economics textbooks. It's playing out around us right now in ways you might not have noticed. Let me show you 3 modern examples that make the paradox viscerally real, starting with something in every room you've been in today. LED lighting is the poster child for the Jevons Paradox. These bulbs are genuinely miraculous. They use about 75% less energy than old incandescents and last 25 times longer. So logically, global energy consumption for lighting should have plummeted, right? Wrong. Because LEDs are so cheap to run, people started lighting up spaces that were previously dark: garden paths, building facades, outdoor patios. Cities installed LED streetlights everywhere, often adding fixtures in places that never had them before. The total number of light sources in the world absolutely exploded. The result? Global energy consumption for lighting has barely budged. We didn't save energy, we just got a lot more light. Here's another example you've probably experienced firsthand. Over the past few decades, automotive engineers have achieved remarkable improvements in fuel economy. Modern engines squeeze far more miles out of every single gallon. So did gasoline demand fall? Not at all. Instead, people chose to buy larger vehicles, SUVs and pickup trucks, and they drove more miles. The effective cost of driving dropped, so commutes got longer, road trips became more frequent, and suburban sprawl kept expanding. All those engineering gains, eaten up entirely by increased consumption. This is the Jevons Paradox on 4 wheels, and it's happening in every country with a growing car culture. And then there's the place where you probably sleep tonight, your home. The energy required to heat and cool a house has collapsed thanks to better insulation, double-pane windows, and hyper-efficient HVAC systems. A modern home uses dramatically less energy per square foot than one built in 1970. But here's the catch. We didn't keep our homes the same size. The average American home has roughly doubled in size since the 1970s. All those efficiency gains went into heating and cooling vastly more space. Higher ceilings, extra bedrooms, 3-car garages. Total residential energy consumption barely declined. We're not using less, we're just living larger. This brings us to a crucial distinction that separates the curious from the alarmed. The rebound effect at 2 different scales. At the micro level, when you study individual households or single products, the rebound is typically 20 to 40%. That means for every 100 units of energy saved, 20 to 40 get used up through increased consumption. Not ideal, but you're still ahead. Now zoom out to the macro level, the entire economy. Suddenly structural transformations kick in. Whole new industries emerge around cheap energy, consumption patterns shift permanently, and the rebound can exceed 100%. That's right, efficiency gains get completely erased, and consumption grows beyond where it started. Most policy studies only look at the micro level, which is why they systematically underestimate the problem. And now we reach perhaps the most urgent frontier of the Jevons Paradox: artificial intelligence. Every few months, AI models become dramatically more efficient. They need less energy per query, less compute per training run. You'd think that would mean less total energy consumption. But as one senior energy systems analyst put it, and I quote, "Every time we achieve a significant efficiency improvement in our AI systems, we invariably find new use cases that push consumption boundaries even further." Organizations respond to cheaper AI by deploying more models, running more complex computations, integrating AI into every product, every workflow. Data center energy consumption is projected to surge. The pattern is unmistakable. The Jevons Paradox is alive and well in the age of algorithms, and it should make us think twice before assuming that efficiency alone will solve our energy challenges. All right, let's be fair. Jevons has its critics, and they raise some important points. On the left, you'll see the skeptical camp. Sorel points out that proving full backfire above 100% economy-wide is really tough empirically. There are just too many moving parts. Economic growth, population changes, policy shifts, they all blur the signal. Venkatasan goes further, arguing the 1865 model just can't capture modern externalities like e-waste or the social costs of AI. But flip to the right column and notice the pattern. Even if total backfire is rare, partial rebound is very real and very well documented. Lucioni and her colleagues warn that both sides are using Jevons as a rhetorical weapon, but the core dynamic isn't going away. The takeaway? We don't need the paradox to be perfect to take it seriously. So we've spent the whole deck talking about a problem, but what's the solution? Here's the good news. The Jevons Paradox doesn't mean we should stop making things more efficient. That would be absurd. What it does mean is that efficiency can't be our only tool. Look at these 5 ideas. They're all about pairing technological progress with smart policy. Carbon pricing makes the true cost visible. Full life cycle analysis catches the externalities Venkatasan was worried about. And the EU is already experimenting with sufficiency frameworks, asking not just can we do more with less, but how much is actually enough. These aren't theoretical. They're being tested right now. Efficiency opens the door to a better future, but policy is what decides which room we walk into. And here's where I want to leave you. The Jevons Paradox isn't a counsel of despair. It's a call to think more broadly. William Stanley Jevons noticed something counterintuitive in 1865, and 160 years later, we're still seeing the same pattern in LEDs, in data centers, in AI. Efficiency creates abundance. That's actually a wonderful thing, unless we forget that abundance needs direction. The door is open. The question isn't whether we walk through it. It's whether we're thoughtful about where we're heading. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear your questions.